What is purity? We think of it as innocence, as goodness, as a light that cannot be dimmed. But what if purity is not a state of being, it is a filter? A blade that can only be wielded by the pure of heart sounds like a blessing. A weapon that will never be used for evil. But who decides what is pure? And what happens when the blade decides that no one, not even its maker, is pure enough? This is the story of a blacksmith who created the perfect weapon. A weapon that would only serve the righteous. But righteousness, like fire, consumes everything it touches. Ogun was the greatest blacksmith in the kingdom of Bamenda. His father was a blacksmith, and his father before him, in a lineage that stretched back to the first forges. But Ogun was not content to simply shape metal. He wanted to shape destiny. For years, he searched for the secret of the ancient blades, weapons that could distinguish friend from enemy, that would only cut those who deserved to be cut. He studied forbidden texts. He consulted spirits at crossroads. He poured his own blood into the forge. And one night, under a blood moon, he succeeded. The blade was beautiful, long, curved, its surface rippling like water. When he held it, he felt nothing. No power. No pull. The blade was inert. It waited. He presented it to the king, Ade. The king reached for it, and the moment his fingers touched the hilt, he screamed. Blisters rose on his palm. The blade had rejected him. Ogun was confused. The king was a good man, fair, just, loved by his people. Why would the blade refuse him? The king's advisors whispered that the blade was cursed. Ogun insisted it was blessed, but blessed for whom? They tested it on warriors, on priests, on the purest souls in the kingdom. All were rejected. Some were burned. One man's hand turned black and withered. Then a young girl walked into the forge. Her name was Zobam. She was the daughter of a goat herder, 12 years old, known in the village for her kindness to animals, her honesty, her gentle laugh. She had come to fetch water from the well behind Ogun's forge. She saw the blade lying on the anvil. She picked it up. It sang. The blade glowed with a soft, golden light. Zobam held it as if it weighed nothing. She looked at Ogun and smiled. It's beautiful. What is it? Ogun fell to his knees. It is yours, he whispered. It has chosen you. Zobam became the kingdom's champion. She was too young to fight, too gentle to kill. But the blade did not need her to be violent. It needed her to be present. When she held it, enemies who saw her felt their aggression drain away. Wars ended before they began. Bandits surrendered. Even wild animals would not attack her. The people called her the Pure One. They built shrines to her. Kings sought her blessing. She was loved, revered, worshipped. But the blade was changing her. It began with small things. Zobam, who had once laughed easily, grew quiet. She spent hours alone, staring at the blade, listening to something no one else could hear. She began to judge not just actions, but thoughts. She would look at a person and say, "You are not pure," and the person would wither, as if the blade had reached inside them and taken something essential. The king grew afraid. He summoned Ogun. Your blade is a curse. It is not protecting us, it is culling us. Every day, Zobam finds new impurities in our people. They are not dying, they are disappearing into themselves. They become shadows. Ogun went to Zobam. He found her in a chamber filled with mirrors, the blade in her lap, staring at her own reflection. Zobam, he said gently, the blade was meant to protect, not to judge. She turned to him, and her eyes were different, not cold, but deep, as if they held an ocean of something vast and dark. "The blade does not judge," she said. "It reveals. I am not deciding who is pure. I am only seeing what the blade shows me. And the blade shows me everything. Then stop looking." Zobam shook her head slowly. "I cannot. The blade will not let me. It is hungry, Ogun. It wants to find the pure. But the more it finds, the hungrier it becomes. There are not enough pure hearts in the world to satisfy it. So it is beginning to create them." Ogun did not understand what she meant until the killings began. The first victim was a merchant accused of cheating his customers. Zobam did not kill him with the blade, she simply touched him with it. He collapsed, not dead, but empty. His eyes were open, but nothing looked out. He had been stripped of every thought, every memory, every impulse that was not pure. What remained was a blank, smiling thing that ate when fed and slept when led. The village called it a miracle. The man had been cleansed. But others followed. A woman who had lied to her husband. A child who had stolen fruit. A priest who had doubted the gods. Each one touched by the blade, each one reduced to a smiling, hollow shell. The kingdom began to fill with the pure. They moved in herds, silent, smiling, their eyes empty. They did not speak. They did not think. They only existed. Zobam watched them from her chamber of mirrors, and she wept. But she could not stop. The blade was in her hands, and her hands were no longer her own. Ogun knew he had to destroy the blade. But the blade would not let him near it. Every time he approached, the hilt burned him, the edge cut the air with a sound like screaming. He sought help from the one person who might understand, Matsi, a reclusive spirit talker who lived in the mountains, who had warned him years ago not to forge the blade. Matsi was old, older than the trees, his skin like bark, his eyes like embers. He listened to Ogun's story and nodded slowly. "You did not forge a weapon," Matsi said. "You forged a mirror. The blade reflects the heart of its wielder." Zobam was pure, truly pure, so the blade showed her purity. But purity, when reflected endlessly, becomes a prison. She began to see impurities everywhere. And the blade, hungry for more purity, began to remove them. "How do I stop it?" Matsi shook his head. "You cannot stop it. Only Zobam can. She must look into the blade and see not her purity, but her humanity. She must accept that she is not pure, that no one is. Only then will the blade lose its power." Ogun returned to the palace. He found Zobam in her chamber, surrounded by the hollow ones, who stood in rows like statues. "Zobam," he said, "the blade is a lie. You are not pure. No one is. And that is what makes us human. Please, look at yourself. Really look." Zobam stared at him, her eyes still deep, still vast. Then she looked down at the blade. She raised it, tilted it, and saw her own reflection. She saw a girl who had once loved animals, who had laughed, who had been kind not because she was pure, but because she had chosen to be. She saw the hunger in her own eyes, the hunger for more purity, more emptiness, more of the hollow piece the blade had given her. She saw that she had become the very thing she had been trying to cleanse. Zobam screamed. She dropped the blade. It clattered on the stone floor, and for a moment, it seemed to writhe, to try to slither back to her hand. But she stepped away. "Take it," she said to Ogun. "Melt it. Bury it. I do not care. I will not touch it again." Ogun picked up the blade with tongs. It did not burn him, it was just metal now. The light had gone out. He took it to the forge and threw it into the fire. The flames roared, turned blue, then white, then died. The blade did not melt. It lay in the coals, cold, unchanged. Matsi appeared at the forge door. You cannot destroy it, Ogun. You can only hide it. The blade is not evil. It is not good. It simply is. And it will wait for the next pure heart to find it. Ogun wrapped the blade in leopard skin and buried it deep in the forest, at the roots of an ancient baobab. He placed stones over it, and he spoke a curse. May no hand touch this blade until the world is ready for it. And may the world never be ready. Then he returned to the village. Zobam never fully recovered. She could still see the hollow ones, the people she had cleansed, wandering the village, smiling, waiting. She could not look at them without weeping. She left Bamenda, walked into the forest, and never returned. Some say she became a healer, using the knowledge the blade had given her to help people accept their flaws. Others say she sits at the edge of the forest, waiting for the blade to call her again. The kingdom of Bamenda slowly healed. The hollow ones were cared for, though they never regained their selves. The people learned to be cautious of purity, to embrace their imperfections, to love each other not despite their flaws, but because of them. But the blade still waits, buried beneath the baobab. And sometimes, on moonless nights, travelers hear a faint humming from the earth, a sound like a blade singing, like a mirror calling, like a hunger that never ends. Ogun learned that purity is not a gift, it is a cage. That the search for perfection only creates emptiness. And that the things we make to protect ourselves can become the very things that consume us. His story teaches us that the pure of heart are not those without sin, they are those who know their sins and choose love anyway. The blade still waits, hungry. And somewhere, a girl still watches, waiting for a world that will never be pure enough to satisfy it. But what do you think? Was Ogun wrong to forge the blade, or did he create something that could have been a force for good? Was Zobam a victim or a monster? And what would you do if a weapon offered to cleanse you of every flaw, at the cost of your very self? Let me know in the comments below. The sword is buried, but it is not forgotten. And in other lands, other blacksmiths are forging other weapons, unaware of the hunger they are feeding. If tales of purity and its costs haunt you, you cannot miss twins separated at birth, one raised in royalty, the other in the wild. The link is on the screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe for more original, chilling tales from the Safari of Tales. We forge stories that cut to the bone. Until next time, be careful what you ask to see in the mirror.